There was a little girl named Lily. Lily was 12 years old and lived with her parents, Grace and Joseph, who were very poor. Lily's family struggled to make ends meet, often having just enough to get by each day. Lily started hawking to help her family however she could. Meanwhile, her mother labored under the sun, selling vegetables at the local market. Lily's father ventured out each day in search of job, only to return with empty hands. As Grace saw her husband struggling with setbacks, she continued to be his source of support. Every night he comes back, she would remind him that even in the darkest of times, she believed that better days were ahead. Grace and her daughter managed the household finances meticulously. They prioritized essentials over luxuries, ensuring that there was always food on the table and the bills were paid. Despite their sacrifices, they maintained a positive outlook, firmly believing that their situation was temporary. Grace instilled in Lily the value of patience and resilience, assuring her that better days were ahead. Lily, admiring her mother's strength, eagerly helped with chores too. One faithful day, as Lily was hawking as usual, her eyes scanned the passing vehicles, searching for potential buyers. In a traffic, a little boy called her from a luxurious car. As Lily got close to the car, she was stoned, as the driver of the car happened to be Joseph, her dad. "Dad?" she called. Joseph's eyes widened in recognition as he caught sight of her. "Daddy, who is she?" Joseph's son asked in surprise. "Dad?" Lily called in surprise again, but when her father answered, his voice was cold, distant. "I'm sorry, do I know you?" he said, his words like a knife through her heart. Lily's eyes was filled with tears as she realized her father was pretending not to know her. She was alone, lost, and betrayed. As Lily stood there, the luxurious car sped away. The pain of rejection hit Lily hard. She felt a mix of embarrassment, betrayal, and confusion as her father's actions made her feel invisible and unwanted. Unable to bear the emotional weight, her spirit weakened, and she couldn't bring herself to continue hawking for the day. Lily watched her father once again return home untidy, his pockets empty, and his eyes avoiding hers. She summoned the courage to confront him about the boy she had seen him with and the car. With a soft voice, she questioned him. But instead of remorse, her father laughed, dismissing her accusations as the delusions of a sick mind. Lily stood there, feeling the weight of her shattered trust, her silence louder than any words she could have spoken. Later that night, Lily's father found a quiet moment with his wife, Grace, after Lily had gone to bed. He sat her down and told her he had received a job opportunity that required him to travel outside the country. He assured her that he would stay in touch as much as possible, but admitted it might mean being away for an extended period. Grace held her husband close, knowing that this separation would be challenging for her and their daughter. The next morning, Joseph told his daughter that, "Daddy will be traveling out of the country for a job." "Are you sure, Dad?" Lily asked her father. "Sure, darling. Daddy wants you and your mom to live a better life. Don't miss me too much, okay?" Lily's mother bid farewell to her husband as he embarked on what he claimed was a job abroad. Little did she know he had no intention of returning to them, as he had already made plans on how to relocate abroad with Cynthia, his second wife, and their son Joseph met Cynthia after 1 year of his marriage with Grace in an organization he went in search of a job. Cynthia happened to be the secretary of the organization, but unfortunately, there was no more vacant. But with Cynthia's help, he got a good job where he only worked for 6 hours in a day. After a few months, he secretly got married to Cynthia, and they had a son a year later. Joseph lied to Cynthia that he had a small job he does every night. So, he returns to Cynthia and his son every 3 p.m. and stays till 6 p.m., then returns home to Lily and her mother pretending he has nothing, and then leaves the next morning still pretending he was going in search of a job. Meanwhile, he would go back to Cynthia's place as one who returned from night duty, gets prepared in his real self, and leaves to work. Joseph drives a luxury car, which he always parked at Cynthia's place before going home. Lily couldn't doubt the feeling that what she saw was a sure reality. She replayed the scene in her mind, cutting every detail, trying to convince herself it wasn't real. She wanted concrete proof before confronting her mother about it. So, she decided to investigate further, hoping to find clarity before taking any steps. After observing her father's unusual behavior that morning, she decided to gather more evidence. so she instructed a taxi driver to keep following her father discreetly. With each turn of the road, Lily's mind raced with questions, wondering how long her father had kept this secret and who else might be involved. As the taxi trailed her father to the second family's house, Lily's emotions churned with a blend of disbelief and sadness. Joseph reached to a rich neighborhood and stopped in front of a house. Lily saw a woman playing with her son, who happened to be the little boy she saw in a car with her father, tears running down her eyes as the woman embraced Joseph, calling him honey, and the little boy's joyful cries of "Daddy, Daddy." Lily then asked the taxi to turn back, the weight of her discovery heavy on her shoulders. Taking a deep breath, she pushed open the door and found her mom in the kitchen, slicing vegetables for dinner. "Mom, we need to talk," Lily said, her voice trembling slightly. Her mother turned, noticing the seriousness her in tone. "What is it, sweetheart?" Taking a seat at the kitchen table, Lily recounted everything she had found out. She revealed the truth about her father's second family, the family he had been hiding from them all this time. Her mother listened in stunned silence. It was a moment of disbelief and heartbreak. Lily's mother's belief in her husband's fidelity created a tension within their family. Despite Lily's insistence and the mounting evidence she uncovered, her mother remained resolute in her conviction of her husband's faithfulness. She painted a portrait of him as a paragon of virtue, incapable of such deceit. Lily struggled with her mother's trust, torn between her mother's loyalty to her father and the truth she couldn't ignore. And then, she hesitated before making the offer, unsure of how her mother would react. But the thought of her mother's disbelief triggered her on. She mustered the courage to speak up. "Mom, I know you won't believe me, but what if I take you to see for yourself?" "Yes, I will have to see for myself to believe what you just said. Your dad is not capable of such deceit." The next evening, Lily took her mother to the house she saw her father and his other family. As she and her mom got to the house, they knocked at the door and Cynthia opened. "Please, we are here to see your husband," Grace said. Lily couldn't help but notice how the boy's eyes lit up with curiosity as he watched her, knowing he had seen her before. After exchanging warm greetings with Cynthia, she kindly offered them a seat in the sitting room. Lily's father emerged from the room and unexpectedly found his wife and daughter seated, with his second wife in the sitting room. His throat tightened, and for a moment he contemplated retreating, but the shock held him in place. Lily's mother, startled, called out her husband's name in disbelief. Standing from her seat, she demanded to know what he was doing there and who the woman and the little boy were. Cynthia watched in confusion, her anger rising as she realized she wasn't the only woman in her husband's life. She demanded an explanation, her voice trembling with disbelief and betrayal, as she confronted her husband about the truth she had just discovered. Joseph's denial cut deep, but it wasn't unexpected. With a heavy heart, Lily and her mother left the house and headed home, carrying the weight of rejection as they left behind the home that was supposed to be theirs. Cynthia felt a tidal wave of betrayal crashing down on her as she discovered the truth about the man she thought she knew. She had believed in their love, only to realize that Joseph was a master manipulator. It wasn't just her heart he had broken. It was the shattered trust of their son, Joseph's second wife. Cynthia had meticulously planned his downfall. She orchestrated the sale of their properties and made sure Joseph was sacked from his place of work. Cynthia and her son vanished to the country they had planned earlier to relocate as a family, together with Joseph's papers, leaving him behind to discover the harsh reality of his newfound homelessness. With nothing to his name and betrayed by the one he trusted most, so he thought, Joseph faced a deserted future on the streets. Joseph stood on the doorstep. He had rehearsed what he would say to Lily and her mother 1,000 times on his way back. He reached out and turned the doorknob, pushing the door open. But as he stepped inside, a sinking feeling settled in his stomach. The house was empty. He searched every room, every corner, but they were nowhere to be found. And then he noticed it, a piece of paper lying on the floor. With trembling hands, he picked it up and read the words written in his wife's familiar handwriting. They had moved to a better apartment, she explained, leaving behind the pain and disappointment he had caused them. And Lily? Lily had won a spot on a children's game show, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire Kids Edition, a dream she had always cherished. John sank to the ground, overwhelmed with regret and sorrow. He had come back too late, and now the home he had once known was nothing but an empty shell. Lily and her mother had a life-changing experience when Lily won millions on a children's show she participated in. Lily had long been determined to pursue her dreams despite the challenges she faced every day. Juggling her responsibilities as a street vendor selling goods to support her family, she dedicated her nights to intense preparation for the competition she had set her sights on. It was a prestigious contest, offering not only recognition but also a scholarship to a reputable school. Her days were long and tiring, but Lily's nights were spent meticulously studying and honing her skills in the competition's focus area. Though she couldn't afford formal lessons, she relied on books from the local library and online tutorials, practicing tirelessly. On the day of the competition, Lily felt a mix of nervousness and excitement. She knew she had worked hard for this moment and was determined to give it her all. As the competition progressed, Lily's confidence grew. She remembered the countless hours she had spent preparing and focused on her performance. Lily's efforts paid off. She excelled in the competition, earning high praise from the judges. When the winners were announced, she was overwhelmed with emotion upon hearing her name. Not only had she achieved her goal, but she had also secured the scholarship that would change her life and that of her mother's. The audience erupted in applause as Lily walked up to receive her award. Her journey from a determined young girl selling goods on the street to a champion was a testament to her resilience and hard work. She knew this was just the beginning of a new chapter, one that would lead her closer to achieving her dreams and making a difference for her family. After Lily's big win, everything changed. Lily's mother decided to use some of the money to start a big supermarket business in town. The business quickly became popular, offering a wide variety of products to the community. With the new income from the supermarket, their life became much more comfortable. They were able to move to a nicer home and have access to better opportunities. Lily and her mother were both very happy with how their lives changed from a modest lifestyle to a life of grace and success. Lily's heart raced as she watched her father struggling with his wares, his shoulders hunched against the weight of the day. Her driver had stopped the car, and she sat in silence, torn between conflicting emotions. She felt an urge to jump out of the car and offer him a helping hand, a warm meal, and perhaps even a place to rest. But then she remembered the pain he had caused her and her mother over the years, the neglect, the broken promises, and the betrayal. As Lily observed her father, she saw the lines of fatigue on his face, the weariness in his posture. It tugged at her heartstrings, and she found herself fighting back tears. Yet she also couldn't forget the countless nights her mother had cried herself to sleep, the many times he had left them to fend for themselves. A battle raged within her, compassion for the man who was once her father, and anger for the damage he had done. Lily, my daughter, please, I'm sorry for everything I did to you and your mom. I didn't know what came over me. I wasn't with my normal senses. Please forgive me, he said. Joseph watched in disbelief as she drove away, his voice echoing down the empty street. He never imagined that the consequences of his actions would come back to haunt him so painfully. He stood there, defeated and heartbroken, knowing that he had no one to blame but himself. He felt a deep sense of regret for the years he had spent not contributing anything to Lily and her mother's life, missing out on important milestones and shared experiences. His mind raced with thoughts of what could have been, but he knew that no amount of pleading could undo the past. He wished he had made different choices and been a better father and husband to Lily and her mother. This is the end of the story.